everything that does not represent the image of God begins to fall away.
I saw a picture of angels galloping to the rhythm of our worship.
For more of a prophetic instruction, you are confident. This year, the Lord has assured us at the tail end that we are nothing missing, nothing broken, and that we are till we are coming out.
We are believers, and indeed we are sons called in a time and season such as this.
Hello and welcome to Dove Eyes with Nwoko. It's great to have you with us today. We are excited about the things that we do and the fact that family is still important to us. You know, at the end of the day, our mission, our mandate is to strengthen the family, make it strong enough for everyone to thrive and be their best self. That is what family is about, and that's all we keep talking about on Dove Eyes in this season. And so we're here again to give you another episode where we talk about this same thing, strengthen the family, and the things that have to do with family. So today we're talking to the young man out there who feels that this is no longer the time people should be getting married. Okay, so we find that there's an apathy amongst young men to get married. They probably feel that once I have, you know, $1 billion in my account, then I can do it. And we have a young man in the house today who is here to talk to us about his experience and also give us, you know, some kind of tips, counsel as to how to get it right, even though you're a 21st century generation person. Okay, we have Jude Nwoko in the house. Jude, thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here.
We've been planning to do a show together for a long time, so I'm glad that we're finally here.
You know, yes, it excites me a lot to know that this program exists and is reaching out to a lot of people out there. Amazing feedback I've personally gotten.
How nice. Great.
Well done.
Thank you for coming with us. Okay, so today it's young people, young men. We're actually wanting to talk to you. There is so much going out there. The girls are complaining that the young men are not just up to par. So it's like we have so many young men avoiding getting married. What do you think is causing this apathy for marriage amongst young men, even young men of faith?
Interesting question. Thank you for asking. There are a couple of myths about marriage, you know, in the 21st century. One of it is that marriage is some form of bondage.
Wow.
Quote and unquote. You know, that the average young man would lose his freedom, quote and unquote, to you know, express himself, to probably have multiple dates, and to go out and come in without being questioned. You know, the average young man does not want to have a mother figure watching over him again. You know,
which is what a wife amounts to, right?
Yeah, that is a myth.
Yes.
You know, one other myth is that you need to have a certain amount of affluence, money, to be able to go into the institution of marriage. Marriage is expensive. To rent an average hall for a wedding, for instance, in the city of Lagos, where we are, it's considered to be something very expensive, and that marriage is an expensive venture. So you need to have stacked up all the money you presume you need for the venture of marriage, you know, before you go into it. That's another. A third one that comes to mind is marriage. Most times you lose your happiness.
That's a tough one.
You lose your happiness, and I mean, it sounds tough, but maybe going by one or two instances, you know, around us, you know, you see, someone was a comedian was once you know, throwing forth a joke. He said you can look into a car and you know whether the two persons, male and female, sitting in there are dating or they are married. Because by men looking at the facial expression,
they're married, it's like everybody's
straight, you know, just looking forward. But if they are dating, they are probably holding hands, touching each other, and you know, exchanging glances from here and there, you know, because marriage is then considered after a while to be somewhat of an unhappy venture.
Wow.
You know, I could go on and on the myths about marriage.
This is really what young people are feeling about it.
Marriage. So it's a perception, especially because of the response or the things people say or see around them. In the course of our conversation, we'll probably begin to address these perceptions, one after the other.
For instance, the first myth is that they think that once I have money in the account, my bank account is reading some good money, you know, then I'm ready for marriage. Let's talk about that myth.
Interestingly, the way I see it, the first thing that I will lean towards what a wise man once said. He said that to build a house, King Solomon actually said that. He said to build a house is built by wisdom. By knowledge is pillars are established. And by understanding, the rooms are filled with precious things. You know, putting it in the contemporary language, what he's saying, you know, understanding is information. It's information. Wisdom is information applied. Yeah, and knowledge is information, you know, capacity built based on information. So if you look at that that illustration from Solomon, you take it's actually downside up. You start with understanding, to knowledge, and then you go to wisdom. So what a man needs to become ready for marriage is not money. There are a lot of other things we will talk about, like I said, because of the meeting. You can be a man having money. Okay, so I put a question to whoever has that argument. If a 4-year-old just got into some inheritance, a 4-year-old boy got into some inheritance, either by the death or demise of his father
or his grandfather,
are we then saying he's qualified to get married? Apparently there are a lot of other dynamics to look at in the course of marriage. So having money, having a good job, or having a big car doesn't necessarily qualify one to get married.
At least the men, right? Okay, so let's now talk about what do you think a young man needs to be able to prepare to say I'm ready to be married? What are those things that you think they need? And we would love your personal examples as well, because that puts context to the things you're saying.
Thank you very much for asking. I mean, I'm going to speak, and I'm going to make a very good disclaimer to this. I mean, these are all based on my own experience. Yeah. So anything I say, it's based on the values I lean towards, my faith, if you like, and then the experience I have had in the course of the 1 decade that I've been married.
Yes, we didn't even get to say that. How long you've been married?
I'm married for about 9 years now.
Okay, great.
So I think that it begins first with a good sense of your identity as a man,
as an individual.
As an individual, who are you? Have you come to terms with your purpose? Who are you? Why were you designed? Why are you here? You know, every object has its purpose. Everything designed or manufactured, created has its purpose. We all have come to terms with the fact that man did not just show up, man was created. So if man was created, now I speak about man now in generic terms. Right? If man was created, then man was created with a definite purpose, with an identity. First, so I feel every male man must first come into the picture of their identity. Who am I? Truly are. You know, there's a lot of identity crisis out there. You know, and interestingly, people draw their identity from a lot of things. You know, some draw their identity from the background they grew up. Some draw identity from what they do. Like, so if you ask a man who are you, he say I'm a doctor. That typically is what you do. It's not who you are. You know, so I would say that the best person to describe your use as an object, as a person, will be the manufacturer. So it's very important that we all go back to the beginning and the creator to draw that sense of identity. Haven't gotten that sense of identity, the next will be purpose and a vision. You see, I have interacted long enough with a lot of young ladies, and I know I can say for free that a woman could marry into promise, and a wise woman would not marry into necessary affluence without vision. So vision is a preview of your purpose, a pictorial view of your purpose. What has come to your mind as your purpose here on earth? How are you building onto it? So when I talk about building onto it, there are two things that comes into play. One is a man has to become, he has to evolve, he has to develop, he has to grow. You know, so from the point where you feel mature to the point where you get married, a lot of capacity needs to be built into the average male man before you can then say you're qualified to take on the institution of marriage. Marriage is an institution, by the way. You know, and I must say this at this point: marriage is serious business.
It's not for the weak-hearted, for the lily-livered.
It's serious business. It's serious business. You know, I tell people just to say that my parents have been married for about 40 years now, but you see, sometimes I still have to wade into a few housekeeping issues. So marriage is serious business. It's actually not for the faint-hearted. So a man has to come to a place of identity. I mentioned identity, purpose, and then vision, and then a man has to grow, evolve, build capacity into the vision that God has shown him. Is at the point where you are sure of who you are, what you want, and how you build into it, that you can then begin to perceive that, okay, I'm at the point where I can then get someone in, because marriage is really a partnership. I know we're not talking about what marriage is. Someone to come and build with me.
That's it.
So I must have a direction where I'm going to.
Apparently.
Before I can even understand the kind of person that can come into the picture.
Yes, because you see, once you have that understanding, the things you just talked about, you know, you understand your identity, you understand your purpose, you understand you have a vision, a pictorial, you know, fact of your purpose, and then you are working it, you are growing into it. That's the only time that you can bring someone into your life to identify with you.
To partner with.
Yes, because you find that a lot of young men are marrying for their now. You understand? You meet a young girl, you like her, but she's only fit for you now. In 10 years down the line, she's not going to be able to play the roles that, you know, she's not going to be able to stand by you to go the journey that you have to go. Sometimes some women marry a guy and, you know, they say, now that when you didn't have money, we're getting along. Now that you have money, we're not getting along. Why? Because there's some disconnect at some point in your relationship, because she's not ready for the person that you have become 10 years down the line. And so if you don't have a clear picture of where and how you're going, if you bring someone else in, you're going to have problems down the line. So I'm just speaking to the things that you have said already.
Thank you. You couldn't have said it better.
You know, so that is so key. Now, having come this far, okay, how do you identify this person who you want to share your life with you? You
know, when I was speaking about the myths of marriage, the fourth myth I was going to mention is there's a myth that it's impossible to find the one. That's the one. You know, there's several school of thoughts, whether there is a the one or there are several versions of the ones. You see, but what is important first and foremost is you haven't said what I said earlier, having then identified your purpose, it's easy for you to know the help you need, you know. So I told you I lean towards the faith version of marriage. And when God was done with creating mankind in the form of a man called Adam, he put him in a place and gave him a job. I will speak about a job soon. He gave him work, not necessarily a job, gave him work. And his work was to till and plow and cultivate and protect. You see, I'm choosing my words carefully. A man's purpose at the point where you're beginning to build a family, you know, is around the purpose that God gave to Adam at the beginning. You're meant to first cultivate. You then first you till, of course, for the ground to be prepared to take the seed, and then you cultivate, then you grow, you protect. You protect and you give expression to in form of harvest or whatever, or if you like. So a man would then identify a woman that fits into this picture. So you see why it's important that, you know, a man identifies the picture. You have to be clear about the picture, because he brings in someone, he accepts someone. It is a man that lives to cleave. He brings in someone who becomes a help meet
for the purpose
that he has in
so if there's no purpose, then what are you building?
There lies a lot of problem. You know, a lot of problem we see in the marriage institution today are basically foundational. So once we get it wrong at the beginning, I mean, every other thing we're doing onwards is damage control. I mean, if you get what I mean. So it's essential. So I lean towards the school of thought that there is no specific the one, but God has several children, and there are a couple of them that will fit into that picture. But it's very important. People call it someone that's compatible with you. There are several languages and lingo being used for it, but I would say someone that fits into your pitch, the picture of your future. You know, you look at the lady, if this in 10 years, 15, 20 years time, do you see the mother of your child?
Yes, you have to see the mother of your child.
Do you see the lady that you want your daughter to model after?
Yes.
If she doesn't fit that picture, don't complain 20 years down the line.
Yes.
You shouldn't. You don't have a right to.
You don't have a right to.
So there must be that the picture must fit. She must fit into the grand picture.
Yes.
And that, for me, is the beginning of the identification. Every other detail can be worked out. A couple of people lean towards tribe, some lean towards belief system, you know, some lean towards academic status,
yes.
you know, academic level, social status, you know, all of that dynamic. I feel the core, the center is that alignment. That
alignment from the very word go, you know. So now I mean, there's that bit about the fact that whoever you are dealing with now is not really in that. I mean, you don't know what she's going to be like 10 years down the line. So is there any like you said, cultivation is about, you know, making the picture better as you go along. Can you talk about that a bit? You know, this is a woman you have brought in, you are gardening her, you are cultivating her, and as you keep going, that cultivation process, what does it look like?
You know, marriage first is a trust. You know, you just walk up to a lady and you pluck her out of her father's house. It's amazing. I mean, the first 1 week of my marriage several years ago was filled with a lot of I had a lot of misfeeling. Now, first, I was wondering, how did this young lady trust me well enough
with her life?
With her life, and basically everything. She took my name. She relocated from the city where we grew up and moved with me to the city where I then had a job. You know, for me, the center and the core of it is trust. Yes. You know, so that trust has to be protected. A man is meant to cultivate, to grow. You know, so from the point you picked her away from all that her father used to provide for her, you know, the protection, the support, the growth, the encouragement, and all of that. I'm not saying become her father, become something better than her father.
Yes, actually. Because that's what you're supposed to be.
Yes, become something better than her father. You know, a man is supposed to take off from that point and, you know, begin to grow the woman. You know, that even for an average two, and this is not me objectifying an individual, for even an average two, I mean, walk two, you have to clean it, you have to take care of it. Now, imagine how much so a human being. So the danger that a lot of people fall into is, you know, I've gotten her, she's in my nest, and that's it.
And that's it.
That's it. No, it's a project you've just taken.
Yes, it's a project.
If you want delivery, if you want, then you should better the version of the woman you brought in the
first
place.
When you know you're a real husband. Okay, Jude, we've talked extensively, and there's still more to talk about. So we have to stop and, you know, do this for the second episode, the second part, because there's so much you have to say that I really believe will be a blessing. So thank you so much for this first part, but we're doing a second part. Is that a deal?
You're most welcome. It's been my pleasure to always come back to talk with you.
Great. So Jude will be back. So let's pause for this week, back next week to talk some more about this and, you know, give you all the confidence you need to be able to do this thing. Okay. It's been great being on the show. You know, as usual, we're trying to give you the tips to strengthen you and strengthen your family and strengthen the decision for family making. And that's what we're all about, okay? We're active on all our social media pages. On Instagram and Facebook, we're Dovice with Chinwe Kalu. On Instagram and Facebook, we're Dovice with Chinwe Kalu. On Twitter, we're Chinwe Dovice. Join the conversation. Let's talk about this some more. Ask questions so that we can, you know, answer your questions. And we are pleasure to do that, okay? Until then, don't remember that we're doing a second part. Make sure you join us up next week for it, okay? Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next week, okay?
And that in itself is a testimony already.